Good afternoon, everybody. Welcome back to another delightful afternoon of fun, well-mannered frivolity with your favorite aunts. I'm Kevin.
That's so weird. I was going to say frivolity. I'm Sarah.
But were you going to say well-mannered frivolity? There's a difference.
My frivolity is never well-mannered.
What kind of frivolity do you get into?
It's more, or who are we kidding? I'm always well-mannered. My gosh, I can't even pretend that I'm not well-mannered.
I'm the one who gets into the ill-mannered frivolity. You know, that's usually my gig. So
ill-mannered, for sure.
Yeah.
I'm just having a little hard seltzer over here. So excuse me while I take a sip.
I am vaping on some CBD, Delta 5 CBD, which is apparently the closest you can get to a THC product in a non-legal state for cannabis usage. And basically it's just like, yeah, it's a whole science behind it. But basically, like, I've been hitting this thing a couple of times a day versus, like, you know, having a smoke, and this shit hits, man. It feels really, really good. So if you're in a state and you want to check out CBD Delta 5, I would recommend.
Well, yes, Ashland is a hard seltzer that I'm drinking right now. It's brewed with alkaline water. What does that mean?
Alexa, what's alkaline water?
Alkaline water's definition is water that's less acidic than regular tap water. This means it is rich in alkalizing compounds, including calcium, silica, potassium, magnesium, and bicarbonate.
So basically, it's good for my bones. Oh my gosh, guys, I'm drinking really healthy today.
Really? Hold on.
Please don't die. Now
the demons.
Kevin's dying from his advertised item.
No,
my
not
bones are strong because I've got calcium.
Yeah, don't smoke, kids. Don't vape either.
While we're on that, Kevin, how the hell are you?
Well, after that good hit, I'm feeling really good. Okay, besides that, so don't cough in everybody's ears because it's disgusting. I have to say that I'm doing pretty well overall, I think. This week has... I feel like I'm finally coming out of, like, the I said yes to too many things pile, and I'm finally getting through that list. All the videos for the e-course are done. I'm uploading them to Dropbox, and then I'm done.
Can we just give a shout out for that organization that you're doing those videos for?
Yeah.
That was with Convergence, right?
Convergence is also who we did our online conference with recently.
This has been a wonderful find for both of us. Convergence has all kinds of stuff, whether you're in church leadership or not. They have a wonderful, just a breadth of breadth. I use the word breadth, a breadth of
they do.
Courses and content. So check them out.
Yeah. And in a couple months, you'll be able to buy the Bad Theology Kills e-course, which...
I love that.
It's 10 modules, and the videos are 15 to 27 minutes each. So it's like substantial material. I talked a lot.
But it's also like little bites. It's like even shorter than a podcast. So that's fantastic. It's like little bites that you could just do, like, say you're just... You know, you could do that with a class or friends. Why am I advertising this other than I'm really excited for you?
I don't know.
So you got that done.
Yeah, I got that done. Worked out of the gym today. I think I feel a lot less stressed out. I've been meditating, my usual meditation times. Yeah, I think it's been like a really stressful week. Well, no, it hasn't actually. It's been a very, normal week and...
Busy.
Yeah, it's been busy. That's a good word for it. However, I have not been stressed because of it. So I'd give myself a solid 8.5 out of 10. This week's been really nice. And I'm also just so... I don't mean to brag on us, but I do mean to say that I'm really proud of us for our talks on the online church conference. So
it was really fun. Yeah, it was... You and I have done like little things together before at Wild Goose, but it was so fun to do like a larger conference. And even though it was online, it was fun to like be able to sit backstage when you were speaking and then to have you backstage when I was speaking. It was just fun.
Yeah, I thought that was really, really cool.
It.
And now that I've seen how Jim has done it, I really think I'm like, okay, we could do that for like a little queer conference too. So I've got dreams. And also what's really, really cool about online conferences in general, now that we see that people actually do attend them and do get into them,
Oh,
like,
gosh, yeah.
there's a lot of access and things that we can create and not put out a whole lot of, I don't know. It was just really cool to see how this thing is evolving. And by this thing, I mean,
really
like, the
makes me
internet.
realize this last year it's become a both and, right? So even like all my worship services are having to be hybrid, but also conferences being hybrid, right?
Mm-hmm.
Like I feel like that's a potential in the future that's never, it always felt like you had to sell a ticket for someone sitting there,
Mm-hmm.
but in the chair. But now it's like both and, like the people who can't make it there because travel might be like something that they can't afford. Now they can still participate, and there's still community to be had in the chat section. So I thought it was really neat. Especially the way people were like interacting with each other, and then I guess they had coffee hour after everything, and
That's probably
or
really cute.
happy hour.
God, I hope it was happy. Just so you know, Sarah, our friend Scotty Falcon, who's watching us on YouTube right now, says, as a brewer, alkaline water doesn't make a difference at the end of the product and is used mainly as a buzzword. But in specific beers, it can make a difference in yeast flavor profile. So,
Ooh, Scotty, question: is this helping my bones?
that's what we want to know. Is this alcohol water going to make sure that you don't go into what's that, calcium deficiency? Have a bone density issue when you're a geriatric.
Also, if you want to, I am all down for, as someone who has been drinking a lot of seltzer water more than like beers or wines, and I love beers. If anyone wants to give a recommendation for a seltzer water I should drink, because watching the calories, but also realizing that it's not great to drink just beer and wine all the time. So throwing in some seltzer waters. What are ones that you would recommend?
Yes, and I'd also like to know that if you are a beer drinker or if you're a brewer of some kind, do you want to send us some beer?
We also want to hear that.
Me and Sarah would also love to test your beer and try it on air. You could sponsor an episode of Your Favorite Ants with your beer. So slide into our DMs or send us an email at askyourfavoriteants@gmail.com. We want to drink your alcohol.
It's true. That's actually across the board. We want to drink your alcohol.
True. Now,
I feel
Sarah,
like that's fair to say.
Yes, I would say so. Sarah, I would like to ask how the hell are you doing? How are you feeling? How has it been?
I'm only laughing because this has been for me a week where just some really interesting anxiety reactions have happened, and poor Kevin has had to bear the burden of being my friend who gets the.
It wasn't.
You
I would
laughed.
not say. I did because I'm just like, oh, Sarah, and that's my attitude.
I think there's a lot just sort of mixed in. One of the things I'll say is that I'm having the neighbor behind me is doing construction and the neighbor on the other side of me is doing construction. So just constant noise around me all the time. And as someone who has OCD and ADHD, it's really, I didn't realize what it does to my central nervous system for there to be constant sound.
Same here.
Me up, and I don't like it. And I've been a little bit grumpy just because of that. But I've also had some really fun things happen during the week. So it's felt a little bit like a roller coaster. And then I was helping to lead a digital conference, and my talk in the morning was pretty early for me because of being on the West Coast. And so about 6:30 in the morning, I got up. I had intended to get up at 6, but I couldn't get out the door till 6:30. And as I was exiting out the door, I realized my internet was down. My internet was down.
The thing that connects us during this time of pandemonia. The thing you need to do an online conference.
Right. About online ministry stuff. So I was struggling with that. And then something happens where I turn into, I would say 10-year-old Sarah, where I panic, my whole body panics. And my brother's an electrical engineer, and I called him, and he was like, Sarah, it sounds to me like it has nothing to do with your your actual system, because I turned everything on and turned everything back on. Because that's the thing everyone always gives you the advice for, right?
Yeah, unplug it and tug it, plug it back in.
Right. And then that turns into a sermon about everyone needs to unplug. Anyway, so
if you have trouble connecting, maybe you need to spiritually reset.
Unplug. Yeah. But
Girl,
also
you
Anna
know I
Montgomery
wrote
really-
I wrote a blog one time called Trouble Connecting? Question mark. It was about that. I
Oh.
used Wi-Fi as a metaphor for God.
I probably did too.
I hate
It's
myself.
fine. But Anne Lamott wrote a really good thing about it. But anyway, I digress to me panicking on the sidewalk outside there because I'm like, I have to go to my church, but my church has horrible sound, and then I have to take all my equipment. And you were just like, Sarah, it's gonna be okay. And so I think, and then it was, guys. I came back in, started packing up all my equipment to like record elsewhere, and all of a sudden my internet worked, and I had this a great time. I had a great time speaking with the speakers that were there. I felt like I really connected to the audience. It was great. But I was, I also realized like there are two different kinds of people in my life. There's my brother who gives me the pragmatic, well, answer. And he's phenomenal. I love him so much. And he gives me such the like, well, this, and this, right?
Right.
Then there's you who goes, let's get into your feels for a minute and laugh a little bit about like, Sarah. And you sent me this like gorgeous little text that was like, you're going to do great. And I love you. And it was like, letting that go. And I think the reality is there's been so many like big decisions I had to make this week about my summer as I'm moving away. And I think all of it just adds up. And then like the littlest
Breaking
thing
point.
turns into, oh my gosh, like I nearly like, I can't do any of this and flipped everything over. But the truth is no, I can do all of this.
I know.
Just,
it's when we get that, when our child self gets overwhelmed and we think that we have to take control of a situation, and it just, we lose our shit a little bit, and that is fine.
I had another one of those moments this morning too. I went to the beach with my dog, super relaxed, having such a great day. And then I took a wrong turn coming back, and I was recording for the podcast interview with so we do an intro to our podcast, my other podcast that I do called Making Spaces. So I was like, Josie was waiting on me. Josie doesn't care. Josie doesn't care about time. I'm the one who's time crazy. And so I like had this whole like flip out about time and all this sort of stuff, which I'd also had 2 days ago when my friend was going to be a half hour late. And I like was awful to her about time. I was like, no, you don't understand. It was the most ridiculous thing because her and I were going to a soccer game where we got to watch really attractive men play soccer, which for me is like, I love soccer.
I mean, I love soccer, the beautiful sport, baby.
Oh, yeah. So we were watching the Orange County Football Club, and it was so fun, and everything worked out great. In fact, we were able to get dollar beers. It was a great night. But the whole time I was like, would have been better if we'd been here on time. Like, I'm turning into this, like, get off your lawn lady. And I realized I started laughing at myself. I told my story to my friend Crystal, and I was like, and then I'm sitting here going, she needs to learn her lesson about being on time. The lesson was we got there and everything worked out. The lesson was I got here and everything worked out. The lesson was I got here today. And although I was grumpy about all the construction, everything worked out. So I think there's someone who needs to learn a lesson, and it's this girl. Like,
Listen.
let it go.
But the thing is, like, the first step in that is actually recognizing that you're annoyed. Most of the time, we just run around with these, like, energies and feelings and these things running around in the background, presenting themselves as stress and anxiety, when really there's an opportunity in that moment to change my mind about how I'm viewing this or shift my perspective ever so slightly. That'll lead me back to a peaceful place. And when I'm in a peaceful place, I'm much more likely to be able to see the solution. That's usually right in front of me.
And see it for reality. Because the reality was, if we were late to a soccer game and didn't get dollar beers, it was going to be $5 beers. And it's not like we were drinking enough to break our bank account. Like, it wasn't.
And it's not like those beers either way are great. Dollar beers or $5 beers.
No, it was still Coors.
Still Coors, no matter what.
Terrible. And her and I always drink really nice craft beers. So we were only drinking them because they were dollar beers, guys.
Like, here's my thing: is like even if it's $1, even if it's that cheap, I don't want it. Like, give me a hard seltzer, give me a tall boy of a fucking. Oh my gosh! The other night, last Sunday, Shaka Khan Hacienda came back to the 8-Arm Bar. Girl, when I tell you, it was litty titty in the city of Atlanta. She is back. She is dancing free. She's got a jock strap on and not much else.
I got a fun call from you in that night.
Oh, yeah. That was funny. But
We will take your beer, and we will also take your drunk calls. I love a drunk call.
yeah. Oh my gosh.
I love a drunk text.
Maybe like
love those
everyone
things.
send a drunk email to us. We'd read it.
Yeah, we'll read
The
it.
one thing I was thinking though
If
was
you're
just like,
safe, make sure you have a driver.
oh yeah, drink at home. Don't email somewhere out in public. That's really sad. If you're sending a drunk email, drunk email from home. Anyways, what was it? The reason I brought that up is because there was only like 2 bars at this huge party, and the lines were exponentially long. So my ass walked across the street to the liquor store and got myself 3 tall boys. Threw those things back. 3 tall boys of White Claw, I might add. And I got white girl wasted on a Sunday afternoon and then danced my ass off. Loved it.
Who are we becoming? Our best selves, if I'm honest.
I am becoming. I just want to be like the youth. I'm gonna part my hair down the middle. Oh my god! I also went to the gym today. This might be under grievances, but I went to the gym today, and there were these little middle schooler, skinty, minty little boys in there, and I'm like, I'm very happy that they're there. I want them to feel safe. Also, one of them had their nails painted, so I was like, oh, look at you,
Little skinty, yeah.
little skinty, little
boy.
gaby. And also, I'm just like, I want to be your youth pastor. I want to be your friend. But also, it's kind of weird because I'm at a gym. I'm going to keep this thought to myself. I just really want all queer youth to be happy. That's all I want. Anyways, I don't know what the fuck I was talking about now. Oh. I don't know. It's gone.
Okay, well, it'll come back, I hope. So we decided we're going to break our... We love a 3-point sermon. So we've decided our podcast is now going to be in 3 parts.
3-point podcast.
Starting with 3-point podcast. But first, let's check in with our audience. Does anyone want to fill us in on how they're doing?
Yeah.
I can't see this stuff this week for some reason. Can anyone fill us in? How are you guys? Who's here?
Yeah,
Is anyone here live?
We have apparently 4 humans watching live. So if you're watching live, drop us a little comment, say hello, and also do us a favor while you're at it. If you could go ahead and share this stream with somebody who might be into this, or have the courage to share this with somebody you know. You don't know. Maybe I don't know. Just share this anyways.
It's so fun because we are trying really hard to figure out a good time for us to do this. And so we're so sorry that we just let people know like 5 minutes before we do it. So we're grateful for the 4 people who logged in.
No, we let them know 24 hours ago, Sarah. We put it on the story. But yeah, 3-part sermon, 3-part programming. We got a new
Starting with.
We got a pop culture segment that we're calling Did You Hear? Did you hear? Sarah, did you hear?
Mm-hmm. Did you hear that there's a new royal baby?
Meghan's
but then
baby?
My question, caveat, is it still a royal baby?
Technically, no. Because apparently like they didn't want the baby because it was going to be a brown baby.
Well, and is he dethroned? He's no longer in the lineup, right?
I don't think he's dethroned. I just think that he is no longer a official part of the... It's like, you can come to family gatherings, but you're not official in any capacity whatsoever. Maybe. Meghan, if you're listening, Harry, if you're listening, call in. We're standing by.
You're literally about 40 minutes from me right now, so if you need someone to watch the baby...
Yeah, and also, like, Harry's doing not so bad for himself. He's like, no, I'm going to work. And so he's like, I'm going to produce a podcast with Oprah. I'm going to go... Like, he's doing all right. I'm proud of him.
Me too. I think it's interesting too, like what happens when you step outside of the boundaries and barriers at your family. I think we're watching something that many of us are experiencing on a smaller micro level, on this huge level, right?
Oh yeah.
Like what happens when you say, I will no longer walk the walk of my family and I'm going to step outside of that?
I mean,
so did you hear there's a new potentially royal baby? He was wearing royal blue. Was it a he?
I couldn't tell you. I didn't follow up.
Nah, me neither.
And plus I don't care. Like, I don't care as much about royal family stuff. It's not my jam.
I know. It's my family jam because we definitely
I
are
want you
British and have the plates.
You don't need to feel weird about that. A lot of people have a weird thing for the queen and the family and whatnot, so
I don't know that I do have a weird thing for that part. It was Diana for me as a kid.
Yes.
It was a strong woman who went through difficulty, and I don't know. It was Diana for me as a kid.
Also, M says that it was a baby girl.
Baby girl. Do we know the name, Em?
If you know, comment, or actually anybody, comment below. Also, our friend Rachel Townsend is watching, says that they just applied for a job, and that's on her mind. So,
Yay!
sending you some good vibes your way. I hope you get exactly what you need. I don't have any personal other things like in pop culture or otherwise in my book.
Wow. There's no other yours?
Say one more time.
I'm just surprised you don't have another pop culture thing for us.
I think it's because I've had my head in the books this week. I haven't really been paying attention. I know that there's like a couple of... I've been realizing like how just... what am I trying to say here? I'm recognizing how small the queer world is. Even like for people who are like perceived to have like bigger platforms than me or bigger shows than us or whatever. I'm just kind of recognizing that I'm only like we're all 2 or 3 degrees separated from great success. And so and by great success, I mean people who have like monetary success and like the numbers behind it. But like I was talking with my friend Chris Stedman, and he just launched a podcast with iHeartRadio about his friend that he lost. And Chris is an atheist professor and still one of the most incredible humans ever. And
no need for still, and is.
Yeah, still is. And, you know, he's connected to JP Brammer, which is connected to one of my favorite podcasts called Keep It. And I'm like, I just heard Chris's name dropped. Oh, and also Jon Park's Ramage, or Jon Park's Ramage, who wrote Yes Daddy, who was on my podcast, A Tiny Revolution, a couple weeks ago. I think you also know Jonathan, right?
No, other than through your podcast, no.
You should know him. He's really cool. He's fun.
It sounds like I love your description of them.
Yeah.
Of him.
Well,
yeah, I think it is interesting. There's this weird, like, just as a funny thing, like this idea of influencers. So I have been getting a lot of like weird DMs from like marketing companies just being like, you're an influencer, which was funny. No, but they've been from hysterical. So the things that get sent to me, we've talked about this before, because it's always like sex toys, cannabis. Guess what the new one is? Male grooming.
Manscaped called you?
Not Manscaped. It's called like... I got to find out because it was so funny. I could not stop laughing.
No, here's the thing, Sarah, is that you can still pass this on. I'll read the advertisements on the show, and we could make some...
Okay. This one's called Smooth My Balls.
I think my friend Emily got the same one advertised to her. Yes! Smooth my balls?
Smooth my balls.
What's the product? What does it do? Is it like
it smooths their balls. Well, you know what? I'm gonna read it.
It puts the lotions in the baskets.
The people want to know. Smooth my balls, which has a lot of followers, 471,000. You can be an ambassador for them.
How much are they paying?
I don't know. The shower buddy everyone needs. Our turf chopper is waterproof. And or dry shaves. Take it to the shower. Take it to the sink. Our turf chopper will make your partner wink.
I wish y'all could see my face right now. I wish the people listening...
I wish people go on YouTube just to do it.
Yeah, because... Wow, I want to know who...
The turf chopper, never nip your sack again, is the...
Now, let me tell you what. That's real talk right there.
Balls today.
You know, can we just not? I just feel like this is just not... They didn't...
Sorry. Anyway.
Also, you probably have a lot of people...
I'm an influencer.
And also, they know that you have a lot of people with balls in your...
I know.
In your pool of people you're influencing, apparently. Also...
So Dr. Robin and I had this whole conversation because they were saying they're getting all these advertisements for queer stuff and all sort of stuff. I'm like, I get all this stuff for these things. What does that say about what they're finding out about my audience?
What are you looking up in your analytics, Sarah Louisa Jane Heath?
Nothing about smoothing anyone's balls, I'll tell you that much.
Well, maybe it's because like you clicked like the don't give them my information button, and so now the algorithm's just like throwing whatever it hopes will stick.
But I think for these things, what I've been told is they're actually looking at the people who follow you and you don't follow. So those are considered your audience members. So people who follow me apparently would be interested in smoothing their balls.
Hey, if you are listening now, please comment below. Are you interested in smoothing your balls? Should we take up a partnership and make some coins off of this? Because I'm not, but like at the end of the day, we're still playing the capitalism game until it dies. You know.
Okay, so I would like to start grievances based on that. Can we start our grievances section? So our first section is Did You Hear? And our next section is our weekly grievance. This is not a grievances. This is something that I'm very proud of you about. What was a grievances? Caveat, the person who shared this is a wonderful person, amazing speaker, wonderful human. But we were at this conference that was really, again, they had Kevin start the conference off to set the tone. But all the examples they were using of people were like Steve Jobs, Apple, or like corporations. And
it was so interesting. It's just like, here are some examples of cultures that really were like when they make a company culture or
allow people to fail, like all this sort of stuff. But it was all heteronormative white people.
Yes,
which is fine, except I can tell you the people I know that were logged on to that, and the fact that people, I think Jim's been really intentional about not having heteronormative, just white people part of the conference, like speakers. So it's like, we've got to figure out, one of my grievances is when we don't take the time to ask, have I only had a certain capitalistic example? Now can I throw in another example, you know?
And if your next example is Pixar... Sorry, I don't mean to drag you, girl, but it was one of those things. Like, it was like, that's just another corporation. Like, I love Pixar movies. Like, they have done the world for me, and I'm sure that they do create a really wonderful culture within their workplace. I mean, the thing is, Chick-fil-A could be argued for having a really good corporate environment, and also in store. I worked there myself, and
I might have just gone there for breakfast.
Listen, I'm a gay who eats Chick-fil-A. I don't give a fuck. Like, cancel me.
I know. The only reason I eat there is because you do.
I am not, okay, here's the thing. It's like, I am cancelable for that. Like, that's the thing. I own the fact that, and so I just own it. But then I also think, like, this is, again, Andre Henry told me, I don't know if I can say that out loud. I don't know if he would corroborate me saying what he told me in a private conversation.
We can just offline talk about it.
Offline, yeah. Anyways, it's one of those things when I think about it, and I'm... I mean, like, if the person who's critiquing me about eating Chick-fil-A is still buying from Amazon, honestly, that's the thing. It's just like, if you want a purity test, the only person I think of who can actually pass the corporate purity test is Miles Markham, who is one of my friends who will not order from Amazon, who will not eat... Well, he doesn't eat Chick-fil-A. He doesn't eat fast food in general. But like, I was
gonna say, he does it based on the fitness level.
Yeah, based on
he does not eat any of that.
Well, also he's a vegetarian, so like based on that, you know.
Okay, can we just admit that Miles is a better person than either of us?
Oh, I don't even have to admit it. That's well known and documented. Well known and documented.
So our grievances are that our friends are better than us. So yeah, I just thought as a grievance, just something to throw out there, something that kind of like hit me in a really, I love the way you handled it. I thought your comments in the comment section, I love the way that people responded to it, but just, think about who you're always using as examples. That's
and also just like, think about the person you're talking to. Like, think about the people you're going to talk to. Like, do you really want to inspire them with another white dude? You know, at least get a woman, you know, like Stacey Abrams. Right. Stacey Abrams is somebody we can talk about as like someone who's creating really powerful empowering local stuff
and culture.
We could talk about how Crooked Media is actually getting all of the people who listen to their podcast to volunteer and make a difference politically, organizing them across the country.
That's true.
Like, there's like, I can think of 20 billion examples. It's raining outside. My dog is outside. I should let her in real quick. Pause for the cause. Sorry, everyone.
You go let her in. It's okay. I am going to go. It's okay. I'm going to start another one while you go let your dog in from the rain. Friends, the other thing before, actually, because it has to do with the dog, another thing on our grievance list is this idea of unsolicited parenting.
She's fine, everyone. Don't worry.
So Kevin's dog... So I'm telling them I'm hopping ahead because of your dog. the unsolicited parenting advice. So your puppy was a naughty puppy this morning.
She
and
was
ate
having
some of your jeans.
Not just ate them. Like, here's the thing. It's just like, you tear a little something in the side. Okay, little hole. I'm not going to be too mad. She ripped off the button for where buttons. She tore up the zipper part. And, like, I'm like, wow, these are now supremely unusable. And I hate, like, and also you can't donate that. So, like, what do you do with, like, old denim? Like, I'm probably just going to use it to, like, tie up stuff in my garden now.
Shops. Yeah, I use it as shop in my workshop stuff.
Yeah. So that's what I think I'm going to do. It's just, when I get my garden. And also now that I'm not traveling as much, I can actually maybe start a garden. That'd be fun. Anyways.
But all the people giving you unsolicited advice on Twitter.
Yes. Here's the thing. It's like, I know that I can do a better job. Like, it's like the pants were available to her. They were sitting on top of the hamper. I'm not going to fault her. Because she's just a dog. She doesn't know what the fuck she's doing. It just smells like me. And at the same time, you don't have to tell me to not leave stuff on the floor. I know that. I have owned a dog. Ugh. And like, it's like you assume that, like, it's like the assumption that I am the idiot. And maybe that's me projecting what I do to other people. Maybe that's generally it. Because, like, anyways, if I wanted I was just sharing a distressful story, I did not ask for your advice. I need solidarity. If I want advice, I'll write into my own show.
It's also, I was just thinking unsolicited parenting advice. I have a dear friend whose child is autistic, and people will always give her parenting advice when she's out, and it's like,
for her autistic child.
Yeah, because he doesn't present as autistic, and so people will tell her all the time, like, you need to. Oh, look, you've got a really active little guy. You should. And she's like, I don't want to have to tell every stranger I meet. We're dealing with like different rules because my little guy is autistic, So
if it were me, like, if it were me, like, if I ever become a parent and someone gives me advice, I'd be like, oh my God, I didn't ask you. And that's the face I'm going to make. It's like, tell me when I like, did I call into your podcast show to ask your advice? Just like, next I was like, hey, do you have a podcast? Because I would love to ask you some questions and you can answer it on that podcast, but not here. Because you know why? You don't know. But
all right, we should do the last one, which is going to be really hard, and I keep skipping over it because it's going to be hard for both of us.
So we want to say rest in peace and power to our friend Steve Austin, who unfortunately,
not the wrestler, but the writer.
Not the wrestler. The writer, pastor, friend to many, mental health advocate. He passed away this past week, and
it's okay with the story being told. One of the things that I read from his family was that they want the story to be told that he did complete suicide, which is really hard. But for folks, for the story to be real and for you to go get help. And they said, he wouldn't have wanted it to be a thing of shame. He wouldn't have wanted it to be hidden. And so they're using the words when they're saying things. Steve. And the reason I said not the wrestler is because in 2016, when Steve and I became friends, that was like, hi, this is Steve Austin, not the wrestler. And I thought that was really cute.
Yeah. He was also like one of the first people I connected with on the internet. And he was somebody who just like tried extremely hard to love people. He was going at it. He was writing the blog. I remember he was such an active blogger. He was self-publishing books out the wazoo, like before, like he did not care. Like he wasn't waiting around for people to give him permission. He was just going at it because he understood.
I think you were one of the first podcasts I was ever on as a guest, and then Steve, one of Steve's, was the other one. And
wait, you were on my podcast? Was one of your first guest spots?
Yeah, probably.
That is shocking to me. Huh.
Wait, when did you start Tiny Revolution? 5 years ago?
Yeah, shortly after Wild Goose, shortly after we met. Like the October after we met.
So maybe I'd been on a couple, but not a ton at that point.
Interesting. Huh. Look at us now.
I mean, I've been at like on Homebrewed Christianity and like Steve's. But He's a friend, and this has been a really hard one, and this has been a hard year and a hard season. Steve is 38.
Fuck me. And he also, like, I stayed at his house with his kids and his fam. It's like, he booked me for one of my first gigs. Like, he booked me to lead worship at his church and also for me at somebody's bougie ass backyard. And people showed up. That's the thing. Like, truly incredible.
I also had a family member. I had a family member who was near him, who was going through a lot, near him in proximity, and I was able to reach out, and he reached out to him and tried to take care of him. So he was someone who, like, he did what we wish everyone would do. He was serious about taking care of the individual. Like, I just said, hey, this person needs help and they matter a lot to me. And then he did the work of reaching out to them. So Steve, Austin, you weren't here long enough, but my God, you did amazing things while you were here. So thank you. Thank you.
We're sorry that you couldn't stay. We love you so much. And we know that you're still with us because I don't believe that birth is the beginning, and I do not believe that death is the end.
No, tomorrow I'm going to a funeral of a dear friend of mine who is a pastor older than me. Not that it matters. Passed away from cancer, and he built my wine rack. He's the first person to encourage me in wood crafting and made the cross woodworking. He made the cross that I wore in my ordination, and he helped me move, even though he had a stroke years ago when he was quite young. He had a stroke. And so moving for him, he got lost coming to help me move and had so much. So that's my dear friend, Jerry Carter. So today we say, rest in peace, Steve Austin and Jerry Carter. We are grateful for you.
Amen and amen.
All right, let's go on to the third section as we're rounding that time.
Rounding the time. This is called Ask Your Favorite Ants, or Ask Your Ants. Yeah, because guys, this whole show is based on the fact that, like, your favorite ants are the people that you're going to do exactly these things with. You're going to, like, spill a little tea. Cry a little bit. Get a little angry. And then cry a little bit. And then talk it out. Give us some. Talk it out. Get some advice. Give some advice. What do you got? I don't know what the questions are this week. I've got some from the, what's it called? From Instagram. And would you please tell me? Because I know my Instagram questions were, like, forwarding to you because I put your link on mine. Okay, does that make sense? Yes, it does. I'm also pulling up the inbox right now to see if we got anything in there. It's a little slow. You the best. So how could people do that? Yeah, look at my segue. If you want to, you could absolutely send us a question to askyourfavoriteants@gmail.com, and we will read them aloud on the air. This one... this is actually very, very deep, so I don't know. Well, let's go to the simpler ones first. Hold on. All right, so here we go. So this is a question from Jack the local queer on Instagram. Asks, what has been the hardest thing to get over during deconstruction? For the deconstruction of your faith? I think this notion of the Santa Claus, like the Santa Claus God, that if I just got if I was nice, if I was good, then everything would work out. Right. Because that felt like a really great balance of, like, if I can just be good enough. I'm a 3 on the Enneagram, high 2 wing. So, like, if I can just be good enough and nice enough, then everything's going to work out in my favor. Everything I pray for will show up because I've been a good girl. I've written my list of things I want. I have earned it. And the weird thing is when I looked around, that wasn't reality, obviously, like with other people. But I think the painfulness of letting that go was one of the hardest things to deconstruct. Yeah, because it's like, what the fuck was I working for the whole time? Right. And the truth is like, people are just good people because people are just good people, and should just be good people because just be good people. But I think this idea that God is for me doesn't mean, or the divine is for me, or the universe is for me, doesn't mean things in the time stand exactly as I want it. That was a hard thing to let go of. What do you think about it now? Like the notion,
Gosh,
like, you know,
I mean,
like,
you know this. I'm working through that. Like that's a big work through. Like I think I'm learning. I think I went the other direction for a long time, and that like, you know, God is up there just not even giving a shit. And I think this notion that God could be for me has been a beautiful reintroduction. Does that make sense? Just from what you know of me, like, oh wow, things are working out when I don't expect them to. So why I'm laughing is like this whole thing that I had with time and all this stuff this week. I was talking to my dear friend Crystal, and I'm like going off laughing at myself, and I'm like, and then everything just worked out. Like, what the hell is that about? And she's like, I think it's so funny that you're always waiting for the shoe to drop. But the truth is, because of some of the experiences I've had in my past, I am always waiting for the shoe to drop. And what if I just thought part of the shoe dropping was part of the reality that God is for me and this is for me?
Yeah, it's like this idea of just like I'm allowed to ask for what I want, and then I can surrender my outcomes if I need to. And then it's like the way that I've been doing it for a while, the way that I've tried to control these situations hasn't worked out for me so far. And so when I do kind of like surrender the process, or at least like come back to the moment to realize, okay, what actually matters here? I don't know.
There's a really important thing that I think there's a really important thing that you control the outcome. Truth, when you were like younger and you'd hear the thing like, God will give you the desires of your hearts, but then told us all the desires our hearts should have.
Exactly.
Well, not that one. That's not the one
not
your
that
heart should have. You know what I mean? Not that one.
And then like that
puts you on the naughty list.
That particular verse in general, I love to rework it a little bit because like it's I think there was something about in the Hebrew, which is like, you know, what is that? What's the actual verse? It's just like, trust in God and they will give you the desires of their heart.
Lean not on your own understanding. Hold on. Oh my gosh. We are normally so good at this. On the fly though, I get nervous.
Yeah. It's because you're a Methodist. You always cite your sources.
It's true. We are like, look, plagiarism. My friend got in trouble for plagiarism on her ordination papers for plagiarizing, quote unquote, the Bible.
Because you didn't cite it. That's so stupid.
Yep. Lean not on your own understanding.
Lean not on your own understanding and...
which means cite your sources. In Methodism, lean not on your own understanding. Cite your sources.
Oh my gosh. I'm really ready to become a college professor with you. I think we would... Oh, can you imagine us teaching
can you imagine that class? Two people would take it, but they'd be so entertained.
No, I think a lot of people would take it because we would just talk about... Often, I would say just like how to... I want to teach a class on how to take care of yourself during ministry. Like, that is seriously... I was thinking about this the other day. If I was ever to go back to work in higher education or in seminary, I would want to teach an entire course just on developing individual spiritual practices so that you can center yourself and then center your community. That's actually what will transform places, you know?
I think part of that curriculum would have to also be on, like, finding community. Like, learning how to find actual community when you're in ministry and, like...
Actual friends.
Learning boundaries. Actual friends. Not people that you're trying to like make part of your thing. Like,
yeah.
I think that's been key.
I think like we had like a lot of classes on like pastoral care on how to take care of the community, but not a whole lot on how to take care of the self or how to evaluate what's going on.
How to find healthy relationships that have nothing to do with your parish.
So if you want advice on seminary, please send us your questions because apparently we have a lot of opinions.
Opinions. Yeah. What would you say you miss?
What's the hardest thing I had to... I think, like, I mean, the hard stuff for me is all behind, and I've mourned and grieved it all, so I'm kind of, like, racking my brain, because, like, it doesn't even... Okay, she's playing with her toy. She's good. It doesn't even, like, cross my mind anymore, like, what I've lost as much, and, like, when I think about the things I've lost, I'm not sad about them anymore, because I feel like I've got something much more beautiful, you know?
And that's, talk about Pride Month. That's something that kids need to hear.
Yeah. So I mean, like, granted, I think the hardest thing for me to let go of was the notion of hell, if I'm being honest, because
Oh.
that for me kind of like, that's the ultimate achievement, right? The ultimate achievement is heaven, and that's really what I was going for. You know, live holy so that it can enter my eternal reward, eventually bring heaven to earth, etc. But it was scary to let go of hell, I think, because that meant that there was no more punishment, and that the world's, like, the paradox of sacrifice within the world actually does not, or the paradigm of sacrifice equals love, no longer worked. And that meant that it was a big cognitive dissonance for me, and my ego really wanted to hold on to this idea of punishment. So maybe not so I could get punished, but so that, like, the people who have hurt me would eventually get theirs. Because I really, really wanted. I had a lot of vengeance in my heart.
Like,
yeah.
What does justice look like if someone's not being? I think about that for me, just who I am. It's not the harm that happens to me, but the harm that happens to other people. I love the idea that they have to pay for it later.
Oh my God, yeah. And the thing is, like, they will. If I'm being honest, it's like, I'm not a big, I mean, like, because, like, sure, there are some people in this life who, like, because of their privilege and power can, like, skirt around responsibility, or, like, actually having to answer for what they've done. And still, it's like, on a spiritual level, like, this is me getting a little metaphysical. On a spiritual level, though, I am richer than they will ever be.
Well, and I think about that, too, with when we were talking about the former president one time, someone was talking about how he just kept getting away and getting away and getting away with things. And I thought, is he? Here's someone who can't experience love in the way, like, just from an observer, I obviously don't know his life, but just from an observer looking at even how his family interacts with him, how
the family interacts with each other.
With him. Right. Like, that to me feels so isolating, so lonely. That feels like hell.
Mm-hmm.
That feels like hell. Like, I think about, like, so that day when everything was falling apart and my pets' heads were falling off, like, everything was falling apart, and I called you, and because you are my beloved friend who, like, we are really in each other's lives. We know each other because we have an intimacy of honesty and failure and success and all these things. Like, we're real friends. Mm-hmm. We were able to, like, be in that moment together, so it wasn't heavy and hard. And I think about, like, he doesn't have that. There's no way he has that, because he can't be vulnerable to anyone and he can't be honest with anyone. Mm-hmm. And I think it is so worth it to me to have everything be so difficult sometimes, because it's real and it's gritty and it's honest. Mm-hmm. And I think that to me feels like hell. This idea, everything always, never have to connect with people on a real deep level, because you don't need people, because everything is handed to you. Because over and over again, all the famous people I know that are doing really well, like, stable, are people who, like, recognize that this world is weird that they've been handed, but that reality exists outside of it, blah blah blah, and they're not the greatest thing on earth. The people who feel like the greatest, like, feel like they've been constantly told they're great, they're the ones who just fall apart. And to me, that's hell. Yeah. To be told your God is hell.
If you make a god of anyone who is not, they will die. Like, that's and, like, especially if you've made yourself into a demagogue, like, that's even worse, because, like, you can't. It's very hard to take yourself off of a.
No, thank you.
It's hard to take yourself off of a high altar that you put yourself on. You know, which means that you knew you were a false idol the whole time. A very, very
question.
Say what?
What's the next simple question? Because we only probably have time for the simple one, not for the super deep one, right?
Yeah, we'll take the deep one next week. Also, can you hear me okay?
Next week. Yeah, I can hear you great. Can you hear me okay or no?
Yeah, I can hear you just fine. My camera is frozen for some reason. I don't know if it's freezing. I don't know if it's freezing.
Oh, yeah, you are frozen.
Let me see if I can reset my camera really quickly. It shouldn't take too long. Which button do I want to push?
Do you want to tell me what the question is while you do that?
Yes, the question is, how do I tell someone who asked me what I thought about them getting married, and I think that they shouldn't, without sounding like a bitter divorcee?
Oh, dear.
Oh, okay.
Yeah, that's a tough one.
I like this one. This is the kind of question I came for, to be honest.
I know. No, it's a good one. It's not a bad one. It's a great question. And I think it should be answered more often because you and I have talked about this. Again, the idea of like real, authentic friendship means we can call each other on our shit, right? And your relationships don't exist in a vacuum. They exist around other people. So other people, people always say, oh, you don't know what's going on in someone else's relationship. And I agree.
Right.
I agree with that. But I also think there's something to be said about like, what are the closest people to me? Like, if I was dating someone and you were like, he is the worst, Kevin, that would be it. You know?
Right.
And not because you know me sometimes better than I know myself. So my question would be like, how close are they to that person? Like if they're super close to that person and they're asking you to be excited for their wedding, I think it's important for you to be able to say to them, I'm excited for the future that you're imagining. I'm nervous that this isn't the situation that's going to create the future that you're hoping for.
Right. And I would say like, I mean, here's the thing, just like if you, well, granted, you called yourself a bitter divorcee. So like apparently you've got a little bit of trope in you. Like you think you're a bitter divorcee on some level. So you need to like set that aside for a second. This is like about your friend. And so like if you are already anticipating that he or she or they are going to react negatively to you because you are quote unquote jaded because of your divorce, just check your emotions around that. Because if that is the reason you don't want them to get married because you are scared for them, communicate that. Don't say, I think marriage is stupid, or I think that you're making a huge mistake. Tell them why. Tell them why you think they're making a mistake. Can
I tell you about a moment I had that like still, it just popped in my head, but I feel like really relates to this.
Right.
I was in the South with some friends, and we were walking down the street, and I was with a bunch of guys that are either divorced or about to get divorced.
Nice.
And my friends who've been dating for a while. So he was divorced. She's never been married, but they've been dating for 4 years. Walking down the street, there's this sweet couple getting married. And the divorced guy says, hey, which one of you guys wants to be the one to warn him that he's making the worst mistake of his life? And I look over at his girlfriend, and her face is devastated. And I think, here's the deal. Being a divorce bitter, take a moment, process why. If you don't believe in the institution of marriage, fine, but have a reason for not believing in it. Not because your marriage was shit, but because like, hey, like, I think this or this or this. I would say go into that conversation with honesty, right? Like, I just want to be honest as we step into this conversation together that like my marriage was difficult and hard. And it may seem to you because of the conversations that we have that I don't believe in marriage. And then if you do, say the statements of, but here's the reason that I think marriage are great. And I'm worried that that's not why you're getting married.
Yeah. All you can do is just be honest with them and say like, because like if the concern is with the person they're marrying, you should just name your concerns. Like, hey, they present this behavior and this behavior and this behavior, and it's made you feel bad or not good, or I've seen how you've changed in a negative way because of this, and it worries me. And that's all you have to say. And you don't need to say like whether or not you think they should get married. You're just saying like, I see some unhealthy relational patterns between you and your partner, and I don't think they'll go away if you get married. In fact, I know that they will escalate when you get married because that's the nature of relationships. You know, they bring up all of our shit that we don't like.
Yeah, that's actually the kind of the beauty in it. Like, they help you work through it if they're a healthy space to do so. Like, good friendships are the same way, right? Like, I think a good relationship is a creative experience, right? You're making something new together. But in order to make something new together, you have to, like, work through the crap of the past. I don't know what's going on with your camera, but it's quite weird.
It's not even, I don't even, it's not moving on my side, so I just think it's probably not working. Which, hooray, you know, Mercury retrograde, here she is, rearing her ugly head.
Okay, so my friend Louise also hates that I would talk about her on the podcast. So I'll just say this. She had a really hard day the other day. And I was laughing because I literally said, my friend Kevin says Mercury's in retrograde. And she just looked at me like, who are you these days that you're like? But it's true. Everyone had a really rough day on Thursday. Let's be honest.
Because, bitch, the solar eclipse. And like I don't
Because
mean
bitch, the solar eclipse should
Listen.
be a T-shirt. Come on, I know you hate my T-shirt ideas, but because bitch, a solar eclipse would be a really cute T-shirt.
that would be. I mean, like only during eclipse season though.
But like it's kind of fun, like just overall, like to be like a witch. No, it's not. I don't know.
I mean,
can't see your face. I
It's.
worry.
I mean, it's not that it's a bad idea. I just don't know who's gonna buy it. That's the thing.
Okay.
Is that I'm trying.
Let us know if you would buy this shirt.
If you would buy the shirt that says "Bitch the Solar Eclipse," please let us know. We would love to make a buck on
Bitch,
it.
because the solar eclipse.
Yeah. But yeah. So, friend who is struggling with your friend, you just need to be honest with them. Tell them why you don't like their partner and/or why they shouldn't get married, and then leave it at that. And if also,
And I would say, don't say what you don't like their partner. Don't say what you don't like that partnership brings out in the person you love.
yeah, don't talk about the person. Like, don't attack their character. Always talk about behavior. Always talk about behavior.
And the thing that they're creating together. Like when you get to work together, and I'm in another relationship that maybe created more of a like healthy, wonderful space, you can say, hey, these are the places where I have seen a healthy space.
Yeah. But yeah, so we're at time. We don't want to take up too much of your time. Or,
I know.
Sarah, is there anything that you want to
I
promote
do want
right
to
now?
say.
Oh, hit it.
Yeah, I do. I want to promote that you and I are speaking together in a couple of weeks in LA for the Wonderfully Made tour.
Half the
I'm
tickets
so
are gone
excited.
already, y'all.
Oh, shoot. Yeah. Hurry up and get those because my parents need to get into that room. It's going to be really, really great. I'm excited about that. Also, some more content is going to be going out on my YouTube. Making Spaces podcast. We've got 4 more episodes before the end of season 3. I know, it's crazy. And what else? I think that's it right now. Yeah. What about you? What's some stuff you'd like to share with the world?
I would like to say that the Big Queer Bible Study, the first e-course I ever made, which covers all of the clobber passages and gay stuff, like how to talk about the Bible and LGBTQ inclusion, it's now just $44. It's available at bigqueerbiblestudy.com. And I would also like to share that I have a bunch of Pride merch that you should go buy because it's very cute. And
so cute.
we'll probably keep it up through the summer and then, like, you know, let it go during the fall. What else?
Wonderfully Made.
Yeah, the Wonderfully Made tour is going on at LA, Portland, Seattle. Minneapolis is going to be going up this weekend. And then I am planning a possible event in Chicago. And Nashville is getting very close to being finalized. So get your life right, y'all. And I'm also excited because I think in LA we actually might be able to release more tickets. So just going to see how that goes.
Oh, so fun. So as your favorite aunts, we just want to let you know we're proud of you.
Yep. No matter what you've done or left undone.
Oh, I love it. And so we want you to make good decisions. I'm really grateful. Next week, what's the question that we want for folks to think about next week?
For next week, I would like you to let me know what do I need? I don't know. I wasn't prepared for this moment.
You wrote down that you thought maybe we should talk about this idea of cannabis.
For next, oh my gosh, yes, I want to talk about cannabis, and I want to see if we can get Joy on here to talk about cannabis with us.
Wait, who?
Joy Alanakun.
Joy, yes.
I'm gonna ask her. There's no guarantees, but I am gonna ask her. But I really do want to have a conversation about cannabis usage.
I'm not a cannabis user. You are a cannabis user, and it's not that I'm against cannabis. I'm new in this.
Yeah, you're not a regular recreational user. No. Although, like, I smoke a shit ton around you, and I never feel judged. So, like, you know,
it doesn't bother me.
Yep. So we're going to talk about that. So if you have questions about cannabis usage, both in the spiritual or you want to talk about the political aspects of it or whatever, please send your questions to askyourfavoriteants@gmail.com or shoot us a DM. You can follow me across the internet at the Kevin Garcia.
You can follow me across the internet at Rev Sarah Heath.
And until next time, we love you.
We do love you. Thank you for coming.
Have a great afternoon. Happy Friday, and That's it. We
Make
love
good
you.
decisions. Drink some water. We love you.
Drink some water. Call your meds. Call your meds. I don't know. Anyways, we love you.
Call
Bye.
your mom.
Call your
Meds. Bye.
girlfriend. It's time you had. I can't sing all of it because then we'll get docked for copyright.
Perfect.
Bye, everyone.
Don't do it.